Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We have a great show for you today. Our guest is my friend Jaime Chesney. How are you? Good morning, and thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I've been following you for some time. And
we've been connected for a while, but we have actually never met in person.
Right. So this is a privilege for me, and I just love what you write in the morning. So inspirational. It's great to wake up to see your messages and just how heartfelt and inspirational they are.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Thank
you so much. So you are one of the most intriguing people that in all of the networking, all my networks, you kind of stand out.
I've done a few things, and being able to put myself out there has been a little bit of a challenge for me. And you wouldn't think that, being with my martial arts experience and growing up, I was a little bit on the shy side, and I had to overcome that. And that was one of the things, like finally in 8th grade, I was able to jump on stage and lead the play. And it's a lot of fear and a lot of shyness and anxiety that came to really get outside of my comfort zone.
Sure.
So, leading up to, everything that I've done until this point, I feel like, we all have adversity to overcome.
Sure. And
we all have a purpose. It's just a matter of finding that purpose and sticking to it so you can really make an impact, a positive impact on society.
Yeah, and for the most part, purpose comes from adversity. So people that, they say that they don't know their purpose, the meaning of life and those things, because they've shied away from that adversity instead of taking it on. Because that's usually where it comes from.
Right. Now, when it comes to adversity, there's something that I think many people have experienced, including myself, and tell me if you've experienced it. They call it the dark night of the soul.
Oh, absolutely.
And what does that mean to you?
Absolutely. To me, from my perspective in my journey, that was the moment where everything both collapsed, fell apart, crashed and burned, and came together all at the same time. Right? Because out of that is, again, where you find your path, your purpose, your meaning.
Absolutely.
What about you? What does that mean to you?
Well, I feel like, how many of those do we have to go through in life?
It's more than one.
Right?
More than one.
You think you just have one downtime, you get through it and you'll be fine. And
right.
Then all of a sudden that rug just gets pulled up out from under you, and you're flat on your butt again, rock bottom, trying to figure it out again.
Well, no, and that's very true. I joke a lot that, I spend so much time on rock bottom, I used to get mail there,
Yes.
Because it was like, it seemed like I couldn't get out of my own way for a while. Young women, professional women, probably have the hardest path out of any of us.
It is, for sure. I mean, being a woman in multiple business industries, so I went to school for design and advertising, and I had my own business where it was nice. I could just meet up with small business owners and do their design work, their websites, their ads, what have you. And then I became a sales director. I experienced a little bit of the insurance industry, got out of that because you're preparing people for death.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Very depressing. And I was young. I was just out of college when I did that. Well, I was actually still in college. And then I took on a position in admissions, and I was promoted within a year to an assistant director. And I realized that even the pay structure as a female, like my male counterparts, my numbers were better, and they were making $20,000 more a year than me.
Oh, yeah, it's a thing.
It's a pay gap, and
Absolutely.
I don't go around and complain about that. I'm a woman, I make less, da 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 da. No, I just forced my way with the seat at the table, and I say what I'm valued, and that's what I want, and it goes my way sometimes. Other times I have to go back into negotiations. And my lack of knowledge that was a thing at the time as a young woman, I didn't even say anything about it. I accepted that $20,000 less pay raise than my male counterpart, and just did what I did. I just kept grinding. But yes, through those things, having to overcome it, I didn't even know it was something I had to overcome until I progressed in my career and had to take a couple of, they say today, pivots.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Having a child in the industry, getting married, I stayed home with my child, and that's when I did my online business, graphic design and advertising. And then I wanted to go back to work. It was nice to be able to go into an office and meet people, and I wanted to get back into digital advertising. Okay. So I was hired at the Post-Gazette, and great time, loved advertising there. But again, I was a digital specialist. I had 12 reps. I was managing $250,000 in business a month and was doing really well. But I had some personal things going on that I had to overcome. And that put me in a position to where I had to go off on my own as an independent.
Okay.
So very scary time. Even though I was doing really well in my career, I had to leave a great position in order to accommodate a scheduling issue. And go off on my own.
You left your safety net over there.
I just went out, no safety net, just bought a house out by North Park at that time, and I had to go on my own as an independent. So I'm like, wow, how am I going to do this? I only had so much of a cushion. So I went and I landed a couple of national accounts, and they took care of me for a couple of years.
For you.
Yeah, and I was... Through that, I still had the personal issues going on. Even until this day, this has been a 12-year battle.
Really?
Yes.
You said something to me on the phone about being a lifelong learner and always learning and evolving and growing. How do you make that work? How do you do that and focus on that so that you're continuously getting better and moving forward? In those times when you slide back down, because I've been there. I know what that's like.
Yes. Well, I think one thing that you think about what you can control, and I could control my consistency. So regardless of this big weight that I may have on my shoulders, I can control my daily activities. Yeah. I can control my relationships and how I show up professionally.
Right. Okay.
And I can control my consistency. So being able to work at things every single day, I'm starting to see the results. So that is showing me that there is hope, regardless of this negativity that has been holding me back.
When you think about just the journey through life in general and how important it is to have a supportive network, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, whatever the case may be, have you benefited from that?
100%. That's the only thing. Like at some points, it has been so dark with the negativity. And I'm not just talking about that one personal issue. I mean, I've been hit in every direction all at the same time. Financial, personal, professional, even health-wise, all at once. So I'm sure being at rock bottom or going through the dark night of the soul, many people have been there where you feel like it's a spiritual attack. Like, how can all of these things at once, all this negativity happen at one time, and how do you get through that?
Right.
And that's when what really had taught me to overcome adversity through really looking deep within who I am, what is my purpose here, and obviously to the higher power. Now, I was raised very Roman Catholic, very strict, church on Sundays when we were younger, and then even in school we were going to church, Stations of the Cross, which church I used to fall asleep in as a kid. I was that ADHD kid, and you get me sitting still, I'm out, That's
it, nap time.
Right. But, really exploring that relationship. And when I was a young girl, I used to write letters because I felt so close to God. I just did. So I would write in a blue crayon before, I was in kindergarten, and my mom would find them hidden under my pillow or, find these letters to God hidden. And, throughout my time, I've had those bouts of adversity. But more recently, within the past 10 years, 2018 actually, in 2016, I went and tried to have a boyfriend, and I knew after 2 months it wasn't going to work out. Stayed with him for a year, and afterwards I'm like, well, that was stupid. And I was doing...
We've all been there, too.
doing really well in my career, and I'm very conscious of my kids. I've been separated for 12 years, or divorced, and then I only had 1 or 2 boyfriends that I introduced to my daughters. But this one, we were together for a little while, and I really liked him, and he was a friend of the family. It just didn't work out. And I felt like a failure again,
Yeah.
Just feel like a failure in those instances. So I turned to spirituality, and I said, God, I just want to live your will. Obviously, you'd given me children. That's part of my purpose. But what else can I do? What do you want from me? I don't want to be a failure in life, whether it be professional, personal.
Right.
And I started Kicks for Kids. That was 8-9 years ago. And, this gentleman reached out to me from North Park, and he said, hey, we want you to teach this kids martial arts class, and, you could charge this much. I said, no, we're not charging for kids martial arts. So that was the start of it. And, I did it to help my daughters. My youngest one was being threatened to be jumped. Well, they did 4 little girls in 2nd grade tried to jump my daughter.
In 2nd grade?
In 2nd grade. And, I had a meeting with the teachers and the principal, but right after I found out and went to pick her up, she goes, Mommy, because she grew up going to the gym with me.
Right.
I never forced them to work out. They could if they wanted to, but I was cage fighting, so she saw me in the cage with the boys doing round robin, sparring.
We got to get into that here in a second. Go ahead, finish your...
But she said to me, Mommy, the only reason why I ran is because there were 4 of them and 1 of me. I said, well, that was very smart. I would expect you to run. I said, my kids grew up. You never start a fight. But if somebody tries to hurt you, you finish it.
You finish it.
Right. And principal didn't like that.
He didn't like that philosophy.
And so what happened is this one girl tried to hit her, and she goes, Mommy, I did the Muay Thai block.
Nice.
And covered. And then another girl grabbed her shirt. She grabbed the girl's shirt in return, pulled and pushed her, and then ran. And I was so proud of her that those just basic skills of self-defense helped her. So, the Kicks for Kids and turning to God for my purpose, I thought that was my ultimate purpose, teaching martial arts and helping kids. And we had some very good values or a code of ethics that we would follow. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm teaching 5 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
This was our code of ethics. The first one was the golden rule. You treat others as you want to be treated.
Sure.
The second one, the warrior spirit.
Okay.
We don't quit. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So even if they felt like they couldn't do something, I said, do it slowly, repeat it, and then once you get it down, then you'll be able to do it quickly. And then the third thing I think is so important, and I did not learn until I was in my 20s, upper 20s. And that is, speak to yourself in your mind as kindly as you would speak to your best friend.
There you go.
Positive self-talk.
Yes.
I mean, how many times do we just let the autopilot go? Oh, you're stupid. You're not good enough. You're not going to
All that negativity comes in, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that everybody struggles with, I believe.
Oh, I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Well, have you found yourself to be guarded because of, have you just kind of kept people kind of at arm's length, built the walls and all those things because of what you've gone through?
Yes, I could say that. Yes.
And that makes relationships, new meaningful relationships, difficult to develop as well.
I just don't have interest in any romantic right now. But as far as friendships and such, I value my friendships very much, and they've helped me through some of the darkest times just by calling me when I'm going through something difficult to check on me, or hey, come on out, let's get you out of the house, let's do something fun. And they've been there for me as an ear to listen.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
without that, I don't know where I would be.
And I would be remiss if I didn't go back to the cage fighting and the MMA. So you said you had 13 bouts?
I had, yes. So 9 striking fights between Muay Thai boxing, Bondo, which are just leg kicks, no knees, and different types of styles. So I was undefeated there. And then I had 4 MMA fights. Now, going through the divorce, that's when I was approached, like, hey, do you want to take an MMA fight? I said, I've never done any wrestling or jiu-jitsu. I have no clue. He said, "You'll be fine. We'll teach you how not to armbar." I'm like, all right, I'll fight anybody. Not very smart. It did help keep me focused through the separation and such. But I fought an All-American wrestler and got suplexed, body slammed. I had my first loss.
Oh,
I was 31 in my first loss. And
wow.
I never knew what it was like to lose.
Really?
Talk about a humbling experience. And many of my fighter friends that may see this, I'm sure they can understand what it's like when you have your first loss after being undefeated. I didn't think I would ever lose.
It's crushing. It's crushing.
Talk about eating humble pie.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always felt that it was always better for me because I learned from it to lose first. Because I think losing teaches you how to win. When you win and you win easily and you win a lot, and then all of a sudden when that first loss comes, yeah, that's tough.
Oh, absolutely.
We could talk about that for a very long time, but I want to talk about giving back because that's very, very important to you as it is to me. So what are you doing you talked about teaching the kids and everything. And what do you do to give back and make an impression on the community?
Well, I did put a pause on the Kicks for Kids last year with becoming a realtor in the scheduling, and they changed the schedule at the gym. So having a midday class on a Saturday, it just wasn't working out. But I've been approached to start that back up again. So that was one of the main ways that I love to give back is teaching martial arts, to kids. But I did start something we registered it for the 501c3 this year. With my background in digital marketing, and after meeting with Joe Sweeney at the Acervo Project, he actually has an organization here in Pittsburgh for human trafficking. Because of our location, we have a lot of trafficking that happens here, with the access to the highways.
Well, Interstate 70 and 79.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yes. So I didn't realize what an issue it was, and I look back, and I've had some close friends that have been in situations that thankfully have gotten out of. But as, 19-year-old girl, I saw some things happen. And some things have happened, as a teenager to me as well. But I can see that we're not doing everything that we can do. Sure. And this is before The Sound of Freedom came out. Before I knew what the movie was, I thought, well, if we educate the young people, even at the school level, we look at these issues, They are approached by traffickers and sex offenders online. That's the majority of the way that these young children, boys and girls, are being approached online. So they're not familiar with what grooming looks like, exploitation. They don't know these things. Right. And they're touching on it in some schools, but really are they? Are they teaching? They're teaching fifth graders how to put a condom in a cucumber, but why wasn't my daughter's 18-year-old friend who was raped, didn't know what to do, threw her clothes away, and didn't realize that there was help out there to prevent pregnancy, disease, and from the perpetrator from doing it again? Sure. So I found the gap, and I think I have the solution. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, they're teaching young kids sex education, fifth grade on average. 18-year-olds don't know what to do if they're sexually assaulted. Right. Why aren't we sharing the messages of the solutions of what can happen and what they can do at a younger age? Mm-hmm. So I started this nonprofit called The Road to Heal. Okay. And it's focused on getting those messages out there as well as providing the resources for help. So pretty much breaks it down into 3 steps to keep it simple. Okay. So number 1, safety. Mm-hmm. All right. Are you in a safe place? Maybe they were just messaged by a potential perpetrator. Right. Or maybe they were just assaulted. We don't know. So get to a safe place. Number 1. Then number 2, prevention. How are you going to prevent disease? How are you going to prevent the perpetrator from doing it again? How are you going to prevent pregnancy? Okay. So there are things in place in society that will help these young girls in those situations. They are just not educated enough to know. And what made me realize this, when my daughter, she'll be 21 this month, my oldest, but when she was 18 and her friend was 18 who was raped, she didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. That's a big gap in our system.
Absolutely.
So I feel that, through this organization, I will be able to get those messages in front of the young men and women, boys, girls. I think it should start at a very young age. And you look at pedophilia and all the other issues that are out there.
And I think kids are more aware today.
Yes.
They're exposed to things. So that leads to a negative. That exposure, take that and make it a positive.
Yes.
So they're seeing these things at a young age. So I agree. I think that's tremendous. Wow, good for you.
Thank you. Well, if you look at, I'm not picking a side in either way, but the abortion being a huge issue politically.
Absolutely.
Why isn't anybody talking about the prevention through education?
Right.
Because if something happens to one of these young women when they're saying, oh, what if they're molested by their father? Well, if they knew that these things are wrong and they knew there are resources to help them and they knew that they could get pregnant, they can go and get help, get the morning after pill or whatever it is to prevent pregnancy from even taking place and to prevent.
So I think a lot of young kids in particular, if you agree that, they don't know.
Right.
They just don't know. They don't know that they can't, especially if it's an adult-child situation. Most children will not push back against an adult.
Right.
They will not, so they just close up.
They do.
But if they knew what was available to them and what steps that they could take to protect themselves, I think that's huge. I think that should be in schools. Like
stop, drop, and roll for fires or dare for
right.
drugs. It needs to be out there for sex crimes.
Sure. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
We're getting somewhere. I pitched to a big organization and they're like, oh, it's kind of, we're going to go in another direction, but they wanted to keep us posted. So we'll see. I have to find the right partners.
And it's still a subject that a lot of people aren't comfortable talking about.
Right.
When you start talking about pedophilia and especially when it comes to a child and rape and things like that, that makes people squirm.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not an easy thing to discuss.
Right. And if the kids just knew, if they knew at a young age what to look for, what's right, what's wrong, and where to go, I think we could prevent a lot of problems and a lot of long-term mental health issues that derive from that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing some really cool stuff.
Trying a little bit at a time.
Yeah, this has been really cool, and I really appreciate. I've been wanting to sit down with you and have a conversation and just get to know you, and this is a really cool way to do it. But we have an audience, but still, this is really cool. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I'd like to have a parting thought. What do you want the audience to take away from Jaime Chesney from this conversation?
Well, talking about overcoming adversity and, really being in dark places, because I feel like anytime that you have a personal relationship, spiritually with God, Jesus, that opens you up for attack. That's what I've witnessed. Yeah. That's what I've experienced. And we just have to stay strong. We have to endure and persevere. And even days that we don't want to move forward, we just have to do a little bit that day. Baby steps that day. Maybe the next day you can go for the sprint, or in a couple of months you can go for the sprint. But just keep moving and working toward those goals no matter what is coming at you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us. I really enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to doing some things with you in the future.
Oh, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Anything that we can do to help you with your cause, what you're doing, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's been
a pleasure.
Thanks.